Hey everyone, Dr. Joe here. Welcome to the live show. I promise this will be one of your most transformational 20 minutes. 20 minutes. We're going to keep this thing to 20 minutes. Normally I'm 30 minutes, but I'm at a different location. I'm not in my studio today. I'll tell you a little bit about that. But the time that you spend, I think it's going to impact your mind in a transformational way, right? How you think about your leadership team. Okay. This is part deux. This is take two. My leadership challenge last week. I was trying to squish, I don't know if you were doing the same, trying to squish 5 days into two with the 4th of July weekend and family celebrations and everybody convening at the cabin that we're building in Wisconsin. I facilitated this live last week on Tuesday. You had my camera. Pretty Joe, but you had no audio. Not good. My microphone was red lighted, absolutely red lighted. Again, lesson learned. Again, I'm sorry for those who do not have degrees in lip reading. Today, we're green light because I am not in studio. I'm actually T-minus about 45 minutes to kicking off a campus team in the desert and hosting today's live stream at Paradise Valley College in the Valley. Put a comment in there if you know anything about PVCC in the Valley of Phoenix. I had a chance to kind of talk to some people on my way in today, including my Uber driver who spent some time on this campus. That's always fun, talking to your Uber driver, because there's usually some connection. Uber drivers to the campuses that I'm going to. 40-year journey here. Unique story, started in 1985 with classes held temporarily at the high school, the local high school, before moving to its own. And this is a beautiful, beautiful campus in 1987, which I think is a pretty important year. It's a year I graduated from high school. Anybody else shout out 87, 87, 80, 80, 80, 80, 87? Yeah. This place has served nearly 200,000 students in its 40-year history. Amazing student to faculty ratio. I think that's what sets this place apart. 12-1. I think the national averages are 15-1. So anytime you get that place where students get a little more personalized attention and can build real relationships with those that have full access, right, and incredible insight, those are the places making a difference. Also, just incredibly affordable. There's something about the community college that I think makes a lot of sense these days. I'm not going to get into the debate between 4 and 2 years, but there's a lot of transfer stuff going on where 4 years having a definite connection and great partnerships with the 2 years. But about 8%, I asked, 8% of the students here take out loans. That's still too much in my mind. Okay. But compared to national averages of 66% of students taking out loans, probably not a bad gig here, not a bad deal. Lots of growth, I think, because of that. Personalized attention, very affordable education, programs galore, in demand. And I wouldn't say guaranteed wages, but you're probably going to be guaranteed a job here in the fastest growing city in America, right? So Puma Pride, that's what I'm talking about today. Hey, before we dive in, I want you to participate in our live poll. On a scale of 1 to 10, let's have some fun with how relaxing was your 4th of July weekend? Mine at a 2. All the kids and the grandkids back again. We're building this cabin, so we're halfway in the build. I'm not going to get into all of it, but I was like part work and not a whole lot of relaxation. And the kids were asking Dad to kind of slow down and relax a little bit. But I don't know. I think work is fun. When you find joy in what you're doing, it's never toil, really. It's more passion. It's more just high energy, all of that stuff. But in terms of relaxation, mine would be a 2 on a scale of 1 to 10. But that's okay with me. How about you? Put in the comments. Hey, today we're tackling something that's keeping, I think, our most brilliant campus leaders awake, maybe at 2 or 3 a.m. Okay, you've assembled a team of individual stars. Today we're meeting with the summer retreat. So it's the deans, the directors, the VPs, the president here, people with impressive credentials, right? High IQs, proven track records, hard to get into these places, tight CVs, but somehow your team is producing just average results. I'm not beating up on anybody. That's just the reality. Does it sound familiar? Overall results aren't quite trending where they need to. So here's the stat. Google, the Project Aristotle, I think, check me on this, but 2012, that study of 180 teams found that psychological safety, more than anything else, was critical to making a team work. Not individual talent, not credentials, not preferred parking spaces, not even experience. It was psychological safety. So I've had the privilege of learning from some of the best leadership minds in our sector, in our modern era. John Maxwell comes to mind. John Cotter comes to mind. Brene Brown comes to mind. Carey Nieuwhof comes to mind. And one of my favorites, Simon Sinek. Unless you just arrived to Earth, right? You've all heard of Simon Sinek. Today, I want to share 3 of the greatest lessons that I learned from the man that directly connected to what we call the individual brilliant ceiling that we're all just kind of brushing up upon. And more importantly, how team intelligence can be your breakthrough. Before we do that, just a little extreme heat warning in the belly. Extreme heat warning. Yeah, I got to stay hydrated. It's $1.08. It's $1.08 right now. Let's talk about one of the key insights I learned from Simon Sinek that I have actually migrated into all of my protocols for developing leaders and teams. Here it is. If you can't draw your idea, it's way too complex. If you can't draw the idea on a bar napkin or a cafeteria, napkin or just a piece of paper, it's far too complex. Remember that career-defining moment for Simon Sinek? His entire trajectory changed with that 18-minute TED Talk, and you all know what I'm talking about, right? Flip chart, 3 circles, that's it. 3 circles that became the start with why, that golden circle. It's got 60 million views the last time I checked because it's so elegantly simple that you could sketch it on a napkin. Bugs. Now, here's what this means for your campus leadership teams. If you are working on a complex issue and you can't put that complex issue into a heuristic, a framework, a picture, you're going to spend way too many words trying to describe what that is. And we're time poor. Many of us are growing budget poor as well. So we have to be very prudent about how we go our work. And it's backed up. Recent research from 2025 shows that diverse intelligence emerges when individuals work together, often with to achieve problem-solving capability that surpasses any single member. But here's the key. Complexity kills intelligence. The more you make something, the more it kills team intelligence. Right? I want you to type one word in the chat that describes your team's decision-making process right now. Here's the test. Just one word that describes your system's decision-making process. On your marks, get set, go. Put it in the chat. Research from MIT shows that collective intelligence, the team's ability to perform across tasks, it oftentimes has very little correlation, which kind of taps out by the age of 45. Just so you know, many of us aren't getting any smarter. Might get street smarter, though. What matters more is how we clear the shared purpose and their shared processes. That's where it's at, folks. That's where it's at. What is our shared purpose? What are shared priorities? And what are our shared processes? When we don't understand that, people, no wonder, are back to back to back to back to back in nothing but meetings. Okay. Let me ask you this. Can you draw your team's decision-making process on a Starbucks napkin? Not your individual process, how you go about it, but your team's shared process. That's what I'm talking about. I worked with a brilliant college president brilliant woman. He had Harvard, okay? She has a team of equally smart, impressive individuals. When I asked her leadership, the same question in her process, I got 7 different drawings. No wonder why they were hitting that performance ceiling despite their individual brilliance, folks. The problem is your team members are brilliant at their individual what and how, but they don't have that shared common framework for collective decision making that's simple enough to draw together. So there's your challenge, right? Google's research backs it up. I found that teams with high psychological safety are rated as effective at twice as often as executives that bring in, maybe more revenue if you're part of the development system. But logical safety requires clarity. You can't have safety without clarity. Think about that. You must be objectively clear to have safety, to create expectations that become standards. Right? When you realize people don't risk speaking up because they don't understand. And when you don't understand, when I don't understand something, I go and hide. I'm like, I don't want to be called out. So the more kind we are, the more clear we're going to be. So there's a little framework challenge for you. Can you take your decision-making process and put it into a very, very simple heuristic? Starts what we call clarity at collectively sketch your most important in under 60 seconds, maybe 30 seconds. It's way too complex. Performance. So here's your first team meeting. Give everyone a piece of paper and give them 2 minutes, okay, to draw your team's core decision-making process. No asking ChatGPT, because ChatGPT isn't going to know your system and know your process. Okay, you've identified while brilliant individuals are creating average teams results. So put it to the test. Okay, the second, common pictures to your processes and priorities. That's the first thing that I learned from the Simon. Simon says, the other one is, I would say short is more persuasive than long. Okay. Anybody married to an extra? Love her to pieces. Yes, I do. Simon shared something fascinating with me, actually. He said he never had a reader say, I wish your book, Simon, were longer. Nobody has ever asked. 75,000 is probably enough words for a book, but I never had an audience say, I wish you covered in your presentation. His most powerful book, actually, I'm not home right now, not in the office. Together is Better. Look it up. It's barely 80 pages, but it contains one of the most quoted insights. Okay. And I just kind of touched on it earlier. Working hard for something we don't care about is called stress or toil, right? Inversely, working hard for something we love is called passion. Yeah, look it up. Together is Better. Great book, 80 pages long. Okay, your team meetings are probably too long. Okay, and probably covering way too much. Here's why that's killing your collective intelligence from lots of different places. Shows that better when they focus on process as intelligence rather than trying to cover everything. Okay, the intelligence team isn't measured by how much you can discuss, but how intelligently you can think together. That's the thing. Oftentimes less is more, right? There's neuroscience behind that as well. The research shows that cognitive load increases exponentially after 18 complex group discussion. It's pretty heavy. Google Project Aristotle that I referred to earlier found that high-performing teams had equally in conversational turn taking and high social sensitivity, both in longer sessions. Those core mental practices, protocols conversational turn taking, and above average social sensitivity of really knowing who's who in your zoo, it starts to just exponentially deteriorate the longer your meeting happens to be. So type in the chat, how long was your last leadership team meeting? Some might say 2. Might see some scary numbers in too long. Might see scary, the MIT research on that on conversational turn taking, and we've got a heuristic on that as well. I call it habitment, focused on interaction patterns and matter teams actually spent together. It's about smarter time, and we're going to talk about that here today in T-minus about 30 minutes. Okay. I worked with James Doty at Chapman University. Shout out. He transformed actually stole a few things from him. His institution through what called the 5x5. Okay. 5-year strategic plans broken into 5-minute team intelligence checks. Okay. Short, focused, frequent, aligned, just pulses. The comprehensive, infrequent, deeps every time they got together. But here's what's happening on most campuses. Your brilliant team members, they're drowning in these 2-hour meetings. They're trying to solve everything. When what you need, listen up, folks, lean in. I think it's a 15-minute team intelligence huddle on a more frequent basis. I ask sometimes, how often does your cabinet get together? Once a month. I'm like, are you kidding me? How about every other day, 15-minute meetings, or everyday intelligence huddles focused on a single decision, moving a to-do maybe to a to done. When you have psychological safety in that space, perhaps research shows that type of safety helps teams realize the performance and well-being. But the long meetings are killing all of us, right? Psychological safety erodes as fatigue increases. Everybody's looking at their watches and figuring out, what do I need to pick up on my way home and what aisle is that in time? So let's get smarter about that. Okay. Yourself an upgrade. I would say in 2000, this academic year, give yourself an upgrade. Replace one long meeting this week. If you're not meeting this week because think about these 15-minute pulse meetings, these sessions focused on, I call those level 10 meetings, stole that from some of the traction stuff that's out there. But watch what happens to the quality of your collective thinking out there. The shorter format, it actually forces clarity. It eliminates, just the wandering minds and that endless circular chatter discussion that traps those high Q, high capacity players into a low team intelligent loop they just cannot get out of. So don't do that to your people. If you're implementing anything like a level 10 meeting, put it in the chat, say we're doing that, and share how it's working, share how that's working. So that's the other one. Shorter is better than long. If you can write it, put it on a napkin. That's all the better. Right. So pictures and shorter. Those are the things. The third one will come in for a landing because people are starting to line up. He told me, he said, be kind to the people behind you. And he said, there's always someone behind you. Doesn't matter who you are. There's always someone to be kind to behind you. So he shared something personal with me. This was at a superintendent's conference. He was young, unknown author visiting his publishing office. I think it was in New York, feeling very for a while, right? Aren't we all? Some established leaders, book authors, took the time out of their day just to encourage him. He could name them by name, but he didn't share who they were. There was no agenda. There was no immediate benefit for them, just strategic kindness, just human kindness. Yeah. But here's the team intelligence twist, if you will. That kindness, it created a multiplier effect that's still rippling outward today. So campus leadership research shows that transformational leadership, that style predominates among both K-12 and higher ed institutions. When it does, it has significant impact on the overall performance. Okay, but transformation requires what scientists call positive contagion. Okay, when one leader's emotional intelligence elevates the entire team's collective performance, that's what we're talking about. Right? I watched this actually happen at a college in Texas. This was 2024. The president implemented what she called Team Lift Thursdays. Loved it. I share this often. Every Thursday, each leadership team member had to do one specific thing, elevate someone else on the team, not appreciation. Official, right? It had to be specific. It had to be strategic. It was all about team intelligence building. I didn't have language for it then. I do have language for it now, and switch what I was able to do it. Sometimes to their team metric evaluations with 31%. They retained executive team when the state average was retaining 67. Okay, was losing 67%. Right. So wow, that's crazy. Why does this work? Right. I think that individual brings, it creates competition. You know what I'm talking about. It's still alive and well on every campus. We're all pretty competitive. The further we go up in the org chart, the more I find people that just have a competitive journey, a competitive background. Team kindness creates collective intelligence. Okay, that competition doesn't necessarily brew that. When psychological safety is present, team members feel comfortable expressing their thoughts. They can manage up ideas. They're shared openly, leading to discussions and innovative solution. Google research, it shows, I mentioned that, teams with psychological safety are less likely to lose members, people slipping out the back door, okay, and more likely to harness diverse ideas. Do we need some more diverse ideas these days? My goodness, there's no map for where we're going, folks. We need ingenuity. We need creativity. We need to bring in more revenue, just to say it very simply, right? But those teams with team intelligence are rated twice as effective. Other executive teams actually not a mistake. Nice. It's nice as a rock. It's not nice. Is not very nice. Kind is what it's all. It's about actually creating condition. Members are investing in each other. So double punch of support, yes, but also challenge, and that's where it's at. That's where leader intersection. That and challenge. Neuroscience shows that when team members feel safe, supported, and challenged, right, their brains release oxytocin, the good stuff, okay, not the bad stuff. Okay, that the oxytocin enhances pattern recognition. It just helps us to remember things better, which helps us to collectively problem solve things and occlude our very needed gaps. Kindness literally makes teams smarter. That's kind of the controlling idea to this point number 3. It's not about being nice. Again, it's about being strategically intelligent with your emotional investments with people. When your team members are invested in each other's success, they naturally start thinking together instead of just thinking, well, kind of individually, right? Best idea wins. This week, every day, do one thing specifically designed to make someone else day maker. brilliant. Okay, being strategically brilliant, knowing that it's putting the stuff in effectively, to be building their teams, to include the gaps and drive culture that your community deserves, and just watch to see how it transforms your collective thinking capacity. Yeah. If you're committed to that, go ahead and type something in the comment right now. I'm committed to taking on that kindness challenge. Again, support and challenge is okay. So here's what Simon taught me that changed everything. One, people are the best shortcut, but only when they function as team intelligence systems. Within the team intelligence, see people for who they are, right? Not just a collection of intelligent individuals, but people that are contributing to the greater good because of their individual and very, very unique brilliance that they bring to the table. So the three things that we covered: clarity at the center. If you can't draw it, it's too complex. Pictures are good. Draw pictures that 13-year-old children can understand, then it will scale, folks. Don't make it overly complex. In your challenge, take your decision-making process and put it into a picture. You do that as a leader, and then ask your team to do the same. Maybe this will be your back to camp. You can collectively draw your very scalable and sustainable decision-making process. If you can, it's too complex. 2, you got to just focused interactions. Shorter is smarter. Shorter is smarter. Take a look at what you have planned for all of your back to campus activities, and maybe just take an overall and say, we're going to do 30% less meetings. Okay, meeting time in terms of our overall meetings. We're going to go shorter is smarter. And then strategic kindness, remembering that kindness multiplies your team intelligence. You don't need to hire another smart leader. We've got enough of them already. You really do. You probably already have plenty of those. Okay, what you need is a smarter team, higher team intelligence that transforms individual brilliance into collective breakthroughs that every community every community deserves. To live in a community served by really healthy teams and highly reliable systems. So before we close, I want everyone who's committed to implementing at least one of these strategies to type breakthrough. Just in the chat, just type the word breakthrough, and it's one word. Let's see that collective commitment. Remember, great leaders don't scale. Great leadership teams do. Great leaders don't scale. We all looking for Superman and Wonder Woman to come on the scene and occlude our gaps and make the places better. It's about those leaders coming in and building amazing, intelligent team that will change the system of education, because folks, it's pretty broken. And our greatest hope, our greatest hope is in the teams, very intelligent teams. So thanks for investing. And thanks for indulging me last week with the mic off, right? And thanks for investing in these few minutes just to talk about these 3 key items and how it relates to overall team intelligence. Now go transform, excuse me, it's a little dry out here. It's 108 degrees. Go transform some individual brilliance into team intelligence. Your campus and your community are counting on you. So we'll see you next week, next Tuesday. We're going to dive into the 5 psychological safety protocols. I mentioned a couple of them today. We're going to dive deeper into them next week. Peace, friends. Keep pressing on. Stay well.